so now we're back. We're in the game, and I guess we can have a look at some of the game settings. And what I'll do, like if you guys are, you've been around the game forever and stuff, you may not need to see this, but what I'll do is I'll go through. Um, I guess I can go with my game configuration and my video settings and whatever. And I bear in mind I didn't always have a good video card, and when I first got this game, my system was pretty substandard, and I can show you some of the things I used to do to get higher frame rates out of the old system. And that PC is now my design PC, the one I do the skins on. And yeah, I mean, it even struggles to do that really. But I was able to play the game with it, and certainly wouldn't have had anything I could make videos with. But so I guess what we could do is we could start there with the video settings. And what I do with this video card I have, I can just go ahead and put it on Ultra and then adjust a few things. So I go into Ultra and then I hit Advanced Settings. I change the scaling to 400 instead of like what is it, 1 by default, 125. It'll come up with. I just set it to 400. And I disable this SSAO. That thing just seems to make a mess of everything. I don't understand it. I'm not 100% sure what all of this is about, whether it's necessary, but if your video card isn't very strong, I highly recommend just disable that. And other things, so up at the top, back up here, full screen mode. This is the native resolution of my monitor. I forgot to mention the monitor when we're looking at it. It's a 32-inch Dell gaming monitor. I forget the make of it, but it's pretty good. I like it. Refresh rate I have set at the max 164, which is the max for the monitor. And you can change if you want to lock it down, say if you're struggling above 60 hertz, just lock your thing down to 60 and you'll probably be fine. Vertical synchronization is enabled. I don't know what. Yeah, I just don't really know what that does. I just leave it on. And so anyway, for the anti-aliasing, I have it on high, and there is an ultra. And I suppose I could try that, see what it. Well, let's see. I know in this video. Well, here, let's just put on high and see what happens if we jump in. Oh, wait a minute, ultra. See what happens with the frame rate when we jump in the truck. Let's just go drive. So this is a Ruda truck here, so I'm getting pretty good frames. You can see in the top left corner. Right now sitting still, so that might be something we can leave. And the other numbers up there at the very top is the GPU temperature and usage, like how busy it is. The next one down is memory, or no, the hertz speed of the graphics card. And then third one down is the temperature and utilization of the CPU on the motherboard. And it shows what hertz it's running at, percent utilization, and the temperature. And you can see the temperature on both of those they're good. Like the CPU temperature doesn't get much higher than that. Like it'll get up to 50 degrees sometimes. The CPU pretty steady around there. And I can explain that a bit when we go through the card settings. So let's just run around the shop here and see what happens with the frame rates with that setting on. Yeah, they're staying up there. That didn't seem to change anything putting it on ultra. Well, I should have been doing that before. Maybe you'll notice a difference in the videos. So yeah, it's coming down a little bit there now that we got stuff to draw in the background. Down to 100, 110, 120. We'll go down to the intersection and see what happens. Oh, you know what we should do before we do that? Okay, right here, 130, 120. Let's hop inside. And we'll look in the mirrors and see what we've got here. Now, what that looks like. And I believe I'm going to have the mirror distance set on medium. I think that's all you really need. And you can see where our frame rate's gone down into the 90s. Well, it's going up, depends what we're looking at. If we're looking straight ahead, we got that mirror working, it drops down. Because the mirrors are one of the really big draws on the CPU, GPU, your graphics processor. Really struggles with mirrors. So, before we go any further, let's go change the mirror depth just to show you. We'll go in here to find mirrors, mirror distance. It's at medium. If we set that to ultra, watch what it does to the frame rates. As we were sitting there, we were at 120, and then we looked in the mirrors, it would drop down a bit. Let's see what happens now. And I'm not sure there's enough for it to draw to make a difference. No, it didn't make much difference at all. But let's see what happens if we drive down to the corner now, where we can get some distance in our mirrors. Then we'll switch it and come back and see. Yeah, 63 there. Yeah, really making it struggle. 60 frames per second. Okay, now we'll jump that back up back to medium, and we'll see. And this is one I highly recommend if your GPU isn't great, put it at medium. And I run mine at medium. The reason I'm running it at medium is I don't need it anymore. Like, what can I see in there? I see what I need to see. I don't use the I'll show you these mirrors that you can put up here. I don't use those, as I mean, it just detracts from the driving. But here we are. We've gained 16 frames per second. So 16 frames is nothing to sneeze at. See, we can see that truck back there. I never have a trailer that long on. Even the windmill trailer isn't that long. So set your mirrors at medium is a good tip. Now, the other things you can do in here, I have reflection detail at all of this stuff at high here. That's as high as that'll go. Some of these have ultra settings. I have shadow quality at ultra. Turn that down to medium. Try that, and if you don't already have it down there. But once again, you can go into simple settings and then start tweaking from there. So you can choose a simple medium setting and then start tweaking things up and down and see what happens. So look at the things that you don't really need. The reflection scaling, you can turn that down, because the reflections, if your graphics card can handle it, add a lot to the game. Excuse me. But if your video card is struggling with it, turn it down and get some frame rates. Same with vegetation detail. You can turn it down a little bit. Grass density. Now that one is, surprisingly, is a real killer, because when it starts drawing grass, it's getting down into the nitty gritty, and you can turn that down and get frame rates. Once again, shadow quality, you don't need it that high. Shadow texture size, you can turn that down. I have weather quality at ultra. That's another one to turn down. Mirror quality, I have it on high. I think you can go, yeah, high is as much as you can go. So the mirror distance, I would work on the mirror distance first before you change the mirror quality or mirror resolution, and then work on possibly the quality and then the resolution, because the resolution is kind of important because it gives you a little bit of crispness to what you're seeing. And if what you're trying to see in your mirror, like I just use the mirrors to see if I can merge or what my trailer's doing when I'm going around a corner, if I'm getting too close to the inside. But after you've driven a bunch, you get to know your trailers, and you don't, this whole business of having the mirrors up there, I don't find it necessary, because well, I've driven them in real life, and I also know where I place my vehicle on the road, what the trailer's going to do. So I look out of curiosity, not as much as, if it's a new trailer, new to me, and I want to know, I'm trying to learn something, and I'll file that away, and then I'll know where I have to put the truck on the road in a 90-degree turn to keep the trailer off the street lamp on the inside or whatever. So you'll learn that stuff. So it's all up to you, but the mirrors definitely can really mess things up. Texture quality is another one. And let's see, we just have low, medium, and high. My graphics card is pretty good. It's what's it, RX 6800 XT, ASUS Tough Gaming, AMD. So it's a pretty good card. So it can handle a lot of this stuff. This anisotropic filtering. No idea what that is. But with this card, I can leave it on high. This is another one you can probably mess with and pull it back a bit. And, all of these sort of things. Light visibility range is on high. That is, I believe what that does is it affects when you see lights that are drawn in the game in the background. So if your video card can handle it, you put it on high and you don't see them popping in as you get close. They'll be drawn in far in the distance, and that's good. You can turn off pedestrians, and anytime you see them walking around, if your video card isn't too good, they're going to affect it. So those are just some of the settings you can use. So we've put our mirror distance back to medium. Let's jump back in and see what we gained in frames, because we were down to, I think, 65 where we were. We're going to get where we can see that. Oh, we're at 92 now. So, it's quite a difference. So you can just see a little tweak like that can make a big difference to the game. So it's a sort of, there's a lot you can do with the settings, and what I recommend is you take some time and just experiment with it with your particular card, see what you get, and you could put it on ultra and just see what happens, and then start scaling things back, or go to medium and start turning it up. Yeah, so now let's see what else can we look at. Gameplay, I guess. That's your music settings. So, okay, well, in here is where you'll find, I didn't know about this right away. Like, I didn't know squat about this game. I just jumped in and started playing. And what I generally do is I usually turn the master volume up out here. I like to have the engine volume up a bit. I turn the turbo up, and I turn the truck effect, all these volumes down a bit, just mostly for the videos, so we don't have all of this going on in the background. We got some nice engine sound, and all those other effects are kind of muted. Interior sound volumes, I have it up a bit. Radio volume is kind of irrelevant right at the moment because we're doing videos, but you can turn that up, and I have a control here. I can turn it down from there. I don't use the CB. The music volume is that intro music that plays in your late music if you're going to be late. I believe what that is. UI music, yes, I just keep those two off, but that's just my preference. But the big thing is here, I didn't even know there was voice navigation. So the first month or two I played the game. So you enable it here, and then your default choices are going to be up here. And then Sound Fixes make some changes to them, but this English Doug or Raspy Doug or Sky, US or UK, whatever, Old Granny. And then I'm using a mod from Zmod, Tom Tom Lorry. That's the one you hear all the time. And then there's a bunch of languages if you want to try them. And but that is helpful. But Lori can be problematic. At times she leads me astray, but I'm learning her Quirks and Quarks. I don't know I have this even on. I don't use the CB radio. Backup beeper I have on. I just have all that on. Play sounds when the game is in background. No, I don't think I'd want that. And there's my audio driver, and this is where I'm getting the sound you guys are hearing. Is I have my headset is a Razer Blackshark V2 Pro wireless, and that is the sound driver, and that's giving us the good sound, and it's pretty impressive. Like when I got this headset, wow, I was kind of blown away. And what I hear in my headphones is really good, really nice. Anyway, that's audio. Don't forget to turn on voice navigation if you haven't. It's handy. Gameplay. Now here's where you can set how you like the game to play for you. Right now, I turned fatigue and traffic offenses off, and this is really big for the videos because I'm jumping around trying to do a video. I want to get something in or whatever. It just saves the step of going and getting some sleep somewhere. When I was playing before I started doing the videos, I would have that on. I'd have traffic offenses on, and I would really be annoyed with this traffic offenses because the AI runs into you and you pay a fine. And when you're struggling to make money and get your trucking company up and running, that is annoying. And it just, oh boy, I get hot under the collar. And so I just turn it off. And then you can set your job length, and I would have that slid right to the right when I was building up my, I first got in the game and I was buying garages and buy a garage. I would put a driver in it. I would make some money. I would expand the garage to 5 bays, put 3 drivers in it, and just put them in cheap trucks and get them working. Usually low boys would, to me, seem to make the most money. Low boys and flat decks. And they would go out and make money. Then I would buy another garage. I'd carry on till I had bought all the garages. And I had a minimum 3 drivers and quite often 4. But I like 3 because what it does if you have 3, it allows you to put 2 trucks in your favorite garages. And so at least in your favorite places you like to drive out of, don't fill it with drivers because then you can't transfer a truck there, relocate a truck there, and then go relocate the driver into the truck at that garage. So, and I made plenty of money. In no time, I had like $21 million. The drivers are just pouring, the money was pouring in. And I could have, I was driving predominantly 389. My drivers are driving the 389. And I had, eventually, my first mod truck was Ruta's 389. And I made the mistake of giving all my drivers his trucks. Oh no, the Viper 389 was first. And I gave all my drivers Viper 389. But what would happen is if a game change came along, an update, and you have to update all your drivers' trucks, or they end up driving a default truck and it can be a real mess. So don't give your drivers mod trucks if you can avoid it. It just saves things when a game incrementally upgrades a version, saves a lot of hassle. So I leave this medium right now just because I'm doing the videos predominantly. My driving is pretty much just doing videos. I don't get a lot of time to just get on the road and do a big trip. So the truck route advisor, I don't even use it, but you got these options. You can have them all turned on. I just don't use it. Map alignment is north locked. And that's kind of handy, so it helps you when you look at the map instantly, you know where you are. You're not with the truck pointed. If the truck is pointed north, then the map could be skewed any which way, and you're going, well, it doesn't look right. Anytime you look at a map in your hands, if you've ever done that, a lot of younger folks won't have used maps. You always orient it with north pointing north locked, so I leave it locked. Show navigation mode best. Now this one can be tricky. You can select shortest, small roads, or whatever. Small roads is really cool. But if you know, like me, and I hate driving on the interstates. It's just boring. But be aware, it's going to take you forever to get to your destination. And if your job is urgent, you'll never get it there in time. So beware of that. So best really takes you on the best route, and it will take you on small roads or whatever. I just leave it on best. I've tried the others. Parking difficulty, always select. Skill parking, whatever. I just leave always select. It doesn't seem to matter. Where I change the parking to get the parking of hard doubles, hard parking B doubles is in the profile config. So random road events, I got it turned way down because they just bug the heck out of me that there's so many. And just turn it down and they'll happen. Like everywhere you go in real life, you don't, every trip you do, you don't have a road event. It's not every day that, you know, maybe summertime and whatever, and there's construction season, you can turn that up a bit, but I leave it down about there. Detours, hate them. Turn it off. And rain probability, I got it pretty low. And that's once again for the videos. Like I like it up about here, really, because I like driving in the rain. It's a little challenge, and tires are a little slippery, or you got to watch it. And but for the videos, I keep it down here. Just so it does occasionally happen, but I get the impression people don't want to see you driving in the rain. Time zones is disabled right now, and that I could enable it here in this profile because when you're using JBX graphics, you got to turn that off. And I'm in 146, so I can't use JBX right now. So I can put that onto full info. I'll just have to remember to put it back. Show cutscenes, yeah, show blockers, disable with caution. I just leave it on. I actually could try that. I haven't tried it in 146. No transmission is 8 shifter. Steering auto center, keyboard or gamepad only. Well, that doesn't apply. 900-degree steering. Truck stability, I have it turned up because remember, I usually run with it down around here. And when you do that and you get outside and you drive from outside with a top heavy load, it's frightening. I just put it up here so I don't get so freaked out because I see that thing leaning and I just want to jump back in the cab and get in control again. Nothing ever happens, but I do like to have it a little soft so the truck is moving, and so is the trailer, and it makes you drive responsibly as opposed to, you know, roaring around the corners at an unrealistic speed. Drive shaft torque should be up. That's this new in 146. That gives the rotational effect, the torque. And I had the suspension stiffness up. I'm going to turn that down because let's just see that about there. Advanced trailer coupling, I don't have it on because I find it really annoying. Trailer cables player and all traffic trailers. It's, you know, I have the video card to run that. If your video card isn't super great, you can do none or first player trailer or player trailers, player trailers and first traffic trailers. So you can experiment with those for your video card performance. Because if you're in a big pile of traffic and you got to draw all of the trailer cables for all the trucks right around you, it can affect your frame rate. Truck speed limiter, no thank you. Range sensor, doesn't seem to do anything. Automatic engine electric restart. I have that on because my ignition switch is messed up. And I did switch to ignition here and engine start here till I changed this out. And I put that on in the meantime too, because I'm fumbling around. I just hit the throttle and it automatically start the engine if I stall it, because you've seen me with that 3406B, and man, I stall that thing all the time. Automatic drop of liftable axles. I gotta turn that off because that's annoying too. Like you put a load on of, you'll have a 3-axle flat deck, and You put on 35,000 pounds and it drops that third axle. You don't need it. So that I'm going to turn off. Air brake simulation, I got to turn back on in this profile. That's cool. And that'll let you run out of air if you're applying the brakes too many times. And if you ever tried backing up a B double, you're going to be hitting the brakes a lot if you're in a tight space. And I ran the truck out of air quite a few times learning how to do it. And not that I'm good at it now, heck, but and realistic fuel consumption I should have on. But if you find you have it on and then you go to do the try to learn how to back up the B doubles and stuff, double low boys and things, you can turn that off and they'll save you running out of fuel. Air, rather. Cruise control, I have it at 5 kilometer or 5 mile an hour increments. I've mentioned before, set the tolerance to 0. And what that'll do is when you're going downhill and you have your cruise control on, it'll control the speed if you're using a transmission with a retarder. If you don't have a transmission with a retarder, it won't matter. But this is handy in, what is it, special transport. Excuse me. So when you're going 40 miles an hour behind the pilot vehicle and he goes downhill, you have this set to 0 and you're using a transmission with a retarder, your cruise control will keep you at 40 behind him so you don't run over him or have to hit the brakes. And you hit the brakes, of course, it turns your cruise control off. Automatic blinker off, I like. Cabin accessory physics is on. That's all that swing and motion and stuff. Now, there's another thing you could probably turn off and save some frame rates. Camera settings, all this stuff, it doesn't really matter. Yeah, all of these things are kind of irrelevant. So I think that should cover it. I think we've gone on long enough. If you need to know anything more, I could probably help you out with it or whatever, ask the questions if there's more detail you need. But I think these are the sort of things, basically how I set up the game. Some of the things I looked for and tweaked when I had a weaker graphics card. And yeah, that's basically it. So that's it. I guess we'll leave it there. And hopefully you get something out of this. And oh, the settings. So I wonder if I should look at that. I don't have screen capture on, so I can't show you the specs of everything. But I'll put the description of all of the bits that make up my computer and peripherals in the description of the video, and you can look at that and go from that. And once again, it's home built, so those are the components I chose to put together for this particular system, and it works good. So here we are with the PC specs, and start with the case. So it's just a Cougar MX 330 PC mid-tower case. It's not overly expensive, but it does have that clear side on the one side, the side you put everything in from. The back, I guess we'll call that the front side. I don't know. The back side of it, the other side, is one thing that's really good about it is it has a big bulge in it, like it sticks out about an inch in the center. It's the panel is punched out, and that gives you room to run all the cables up in the back. So I didn't take the cover off to show you in there, but it's pretty clean. There's very little happening on the inside of the case other than the, you can see the memory, the water cooler head over the CPU and the graphics card. And other than that, everything's pretty hidden because it all runs up the back of the case. So if you're looking for a case, it depends what you want to put in it. Like it took a bit of work to cable it to get it all tucked into that side panel and fit within that bulge, but it's definitely doable. And the nice thing is when we get down to the power supply is it has the plug-in cables, so you only put in what you want and what you need. You don't have all these extra cables to deal with. And the power supply is tucked in underneath the area where the below the motherboard in the graphics card, and it's essentially hidden. You don't see it when you look in that plexiglass window near the side of the PC. So anyway, pretty good case. You know, for 50 bucks or whatever I paid for it, it's definitely worth it. And if I had it to do again, I would probably buy a taller one, like not a mid tower. I'd probably buy a full tower just for the space. But once again, this was totally adequate. It cools well. I got a bunch of case fans on it. I forget how many. I got one in the back, two on the top, and two in the front for the so 5 fans if you count the 2 that are running the cooler, the liquid cooler. So and then there's the power supply fans on top of that. So it has does that have 2 fans or 1 fan? I think 1. And anyway, it definitely works and keeps cool as you saw in the notes. Or sorry, the monitor we were looking at in the previous section of the video. So then we move on to the motherboard, and it's getting a little old. I actually had the motherboard failed in my design PC, and if I was smart, I would have taken that motherboard and put it in here, and taken this one and put it in the other PC because I got a 590 in it. But this is an MSI Z490. It's got the Wi-Fi, and it's an Intel Comet Lake. And with the Wi-Fi, it's kind of handy because my little tablet here, or both of these tablets, are connecting via Wi-Fi. The plugins on both of these is just to charge them. They're not plugged into the PC. So my 11-inch tablet and my 7-inch tablet are connected via Wi-Fi to the PC for data for the SIM dash. Then next up is the CPU, Intel i7-10700K at 3.8 gigahertz. And I'm not overclocking it right at the moment. I probably can. I don't think I'd have a problem with it. Everything's keeping way cool enough. I might try it just for giggles. I did initially, but I had to upgrade my power supply. So we'll talk about that when we get down there to the power supply. But the K means you can't overclock it. So if you're looking at a CPU or a PC, and if it's an Intel chip, if it has a K after it, it can be overclocked. If there's no K, like just 10700, it's locked down. You can't overclock it. And so what that means is the 2 chips are identical, except for one comes from a better, I guess the base chip material that they're building it out of is a higher quality, and its transistor base and everything is such that with testing, the manufacturer feels that it can be overclocked. If one is just meeting the requirements and doesn't look like it's going to run too well, overclocked, it may not be reliable. They take the K off, but it's the same process. They're building the chips the same way. It's just through testing. They get to throw a K on the ones that come out better. It sounds pretty random, but the chip industry and how they manufacture them is a whole nother world. And they're not building it like you build a carburetor or something right exactly to a specification. They have a target goal that they try and reach with building the chips. And sometimes they reach it and sometimes they don't. And if they over exceed or go beyond the spec, it can be overclocked. And if it can't, they'll, and if a chip didn't meet the 10700, maybe they can make it a 10500 and they'll do that. So just the way it works out. 32 gigabits of DDR4 Corsair RGB memory. It's running at 3600 megahertz, and it seems to do the job perfectly well. And it was, I got the RGB because the cooler already had the RGB graphics card, or the graphics has RGB, and it was no additional cost. Like, it just seems everything's RGB now. It didn't cost any different. And I think that's adequate. Like 32, I certainly don't think you need 64, especially for this game. There's no way it can use it. and I don't ever see an issue. I don't think I was having much of an issue at 16 gigabit, in all honesty. 32 seems to be more than adequate. ASUS Tough Gaming RX 6800 XT graphics card. And that's the magic right there. That's what makes the whole thing possible, because that card is pretty good. And it's an expensive bugger. I bought it. I put my name in at the local computer store. It took quite a while to get it. It took, a month and a half or 2 months for it to come in. This was pretty much during the height of that crisis when I could have went online and paid twice what it was worth for it. But I couldn't do that, so I just put my name in, and I didn't think anything had come of it. And they called me one day and said the graphics card's here. So wow, lucky. But if you're dealing with a reputable place and you can trust them, I think it's a good way to go. And I did put the 2-year warranty on it, which is going to expire next April. And I'm going to take advantage of that warranty and take it in to them. So what I want to do is I want to upgrade yet again by then. Hopefully the prices come down, and because I see they're a lot less than I paid for this card right now, and I'm hoping they go down a little bit more. Maybe I'll grab a Christmas sale and upgrade the PC again. Get this one tested, because it goes to sleep and doesn't wake up. If and it's a real problem. Like this morning's video, I started uploading the video for Monday. I started uploading it last night before I went to bed. The PC went to sleep in the middle of the night and loses signal from the display port is the problem. And then and you can't wake it up. You have to reboot the computer. So I lost my upload, had to start again this morning. But other than that, if you're using it, it works flawlessly. But if you let it sit idle for some reason, and it does it randomly, like maybe once a week, it'll do it. So there's something wrong. There's something wrong with it. It shouldn't do that. Anyway, but before I paid, because it was such an expensive card, I threw in the extra money to put an extended warranty on it where I get it replaced in store. But to test it, they need to test it for 5 days. Let it run is their theory, and then figure out what's wrong. If they find a problem, they'll replace it with inventory. So I don't need to go to the manufacturer. So yeah, graphics cards, what a schmozzle that is and has been. Anyway, yeah, and I would probably replace it. I think they have a 6950 now I'm looking at, and it looks pretty good. Corsair, that's the cooler, the Capellix cooler, ICUE H100E, and it's just a 2-fan 120s, and they work great. It definitely keeps the CPU cool. It doesn't get anywhere near worrying about with this game. It's solid, awesome cooler. It's quiet. It wasn't overly expensive. You can spend a heck of a lot more and get less, as far as I'm concerned. Super happy with that. That's a really good buy. So Corsair ICUE H100E Capellix. And if they still make it, I don't know. It's been a year and a bit, get close to a year and a half. And the power supply, this is interesting. I originally had a Corsair, it was a 750MX power supply, and the game would crash occasionally. And I had it originally, the overclocked the video card, and I'm overclocking it a little bit right now. And it would crash the game, and I couldn't figure it out. But in theory, 750 watts is enough for that video card. And but anyway, I upgraded the power supply a few weeks ago to 1,000 watt, and it hasn't done it since. It's been solid. And after the series of crashes, I quit overclocking the video card, and it would still crash on occasion. And I'd know it was the video card because it would send an error report to AMD and I'd get the notification on the screen about what happened. So with that 1000 watt, it's steady, no problems. Now we get to the sound. So the Razer Blackshark V2 Pro headset, that's my headset I use, and the audio drivers that come with that are fantastic. And the sound through the headset is really, really good. So I can't say enough about that. And it's reasonably priced in terms of, the big name competition from, all the big brand names. This one's right there. It's comfortable. Um, I don't know what else to say. The battery lasts a long time. I just hang it up beside my PC when I'm done and plug it in. And I'm just thrilled with it. Then we got the Tobii 5 eye tracker, another pricey thing, but in my view, really well worth it. It's really nice. You don't have to wear a hat. You don't have to clip anything onto your headset. It just works day in and day out, steady. And if you want to play different games like flight sims, and you want to use the eye tracker, by all means, like you can glance around the cockpit, and your gaze will move as you move your eyes, and you keep your head out the window. But for me, I disable the eye tracking because with the truck sim, I want to be looking out the window, or my head is looking forward or out a side window. I can glance down at a gauge and back up, and my view hasn't changed. So if you got the dashboard in view and you don't want things to change, or you check out a gauge or speed or anything, it's really nice. Or if you want to move your eyes to the rear view mirrors and still have your main view out the front without everything jerking around, you can just slide your eyes over. Or sorry, that doesn't work. It would work if I used the eye tracking, but now another place the eye tracking or just using the head tracking function is nice. If you've got a sort of a corner coming up and you're going around it and you got a really long trailer on like a turnpike double or something, and you want to see what the rear end of the trailer is doing, and you also want to kind of keep one eye on the road, what I do is I'll keep my eyes out the front windshield, and I'll turn my head. And my head is turning, the view is moving toward the mirror, but as I keep my eyes pointing forward out the front, you're looking out the side of the windshield now, sort of, but you're still looking forward down the road. And then you can quickly snap your eyes forward to the mirror because your head's turned and see what's in the mirror, and then put your eyes back and then bring your head back. And so you can get a really good look at the mirror quickly without taking your eye off the road for too long. So separating, not having the eye tracking with Tobii, it's really, to me, very, very good. I have as I say here, an ancient but good G25 wheel. It's super old. I bought it when they came out, and it's been really reliable. It's great. Pedals, not so good. I bought it. Had to buy. I took the originals apart. I don't know how many times to clean and touch up the potentiometers, and they eventually just cratered. I bought a used set of pedals on Kijiji, which is kind of like a Craigslist or something. I don't know. And they were, not as good a condition as the guy claimed they were, but excuse me, that's what I'm using now. The shifter went away a long time ago. I have a TH8A shifter. Oh, and the wheel, excuse me, we talked earlier, I made the adapter and I put the bigger wheel on it, 13-inch aluminum and wood-rimmed wheel. It's really nice. It really helps with the immersion, getting rid of that little wheel. Thrustmaster TH8A shifter. And can't say enough about that. That's an awesome shifter. And I bought a cheap knockoff of an Eaton 18-speed shifter from Amazon and converted it and used it for quite a while just to prove that I could do it. And the switch quality in it is really bad. So once I knew I'd be able to do that, I ordered a brand new genuine Eaton Fuller 18-speed shifter from, I think it was called, something Gear or something or other in the US. I could get that info if you need it. And then I converted that one. That's what I'm using now, and it's great. Really good shifter. Feels right. The detent and click of the range and splitter are authentic. It's real. The dash panel we talked about earlier, two Leo Bodnar boards, one generic Arduino, and I got I think I counted up the functions. I think I'm somewhere around 70 some odd functions with everything, and couldn't be happier with it. It's not as fancy as what a lot of guys have with gauges and all kinds of stuff, but it does the trick for me, and I'm really happy with it. And it allows me to just drive the truck and use the switches. I don't have to grab the keyboard unless I'm going to fly around. And I need the what you call it, the numpad keys. And I could add numpad to this. I have enough expansion in my Leo Bodnars to put a numpad on the panel, but I'm happy with the way it is. Just grabbing the keyboard's no hardship for that. What else we got? I have two Thrustmaster joysticks, and that's for farm sim or if you're using forestry equipment or whatever, or cranes and stuff. Works really good. And then I've got a 7-inch and an 11-inch Android both running Sim Dash. So that's about it. All in all, everything works really good, and I'm super happy with it. And it just makes the game really enjoyable for me. It's a solid performing setup. It's not the newest. It's not the greatest. The graphics card is pretty good, but the motherboard, the chip, the processor are, they're not the leading edge, but at the same time, this game is on DX11, and the game engine is what's lacking at this point for my setup. I don't, a bigger CPU isn't going to change anything. I don't think it will. When they get on DX12, we'll start to see. But anyway, that's it, guys. Hope you get something out of that. And if you have any questions, just ask away. Take care, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye for now.